Good afternoon. I'm about to start calling myself One Take Yours because I don't edit these shits or nothing. But this video is very impulsive and just whimsical because the idea is in my brain and I don't want to waste it when it's fresh. So listen, I'm not preaching to y'all. I am a spiritual individual, but I'm not religious. I don't belong to any particular church. But I think the Bible is the greatest book, the greatest story, the greatest manual for life ever created. And I think it goes way deeper than, any religion could ever, like, I think when they say the Bible stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth, I wholeheartedly believe in that. And this scripture doesn't waste any words. And if you go deeper than the surface level of what it's saying, you find a lot in it, like way more than you could ever imagine. And it's funny because growing up, listen, man, I told y'all, like, I was a neurodivergent kid, like, so, like, there's a thing called pathological demand avoidance. When someone tells you to do something, and because that pressure is being put on you, it's like your nervous system almost like resists it automatically. So the best thing that happened to me was on my own deciding to read this and realizing, like, no pastor in church or like any preacher or like all those Christians that you see like using the Bible, I don't know what Bible they're reading, but I'm gonna give you an idea, and based on what I'm reading word for word. And this is, you could apply this to your life. You don't even have to apply it. It's being applied whether you or not you like it or not, but consciously. And this is what this is about, consciousness. So this is the gospel according to John. I'm not gonna read all of it. I'm not gonna hold you too long with this. But I want you to listen to every single word closely. Don't just listen with your ears, listen with your third eye. In the beginning was the Word. In the beginning was the Word. And the Word was with God. And the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made. You hear this? This is the Word that was with God and that is God. Without him was nothing made. He made everything with the Word. Okay. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shineth in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. There was a man sent from God, whose name was John. The same came for a witness, to bear witness of the light, that all men through him might believe. He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light. That was the true light, which lighteth every man that cometh into the world. Now, before y'all cut this off thinking that I'm just preaching, the word here, mind you, so little context. The Old Testament of the Bible is translated from Hebrew not into our modern English, but the English of King James time. Words were used, it's the same words, but used very differently. Now, the New Testament was translated from ancient Greek. And you got to understand, some of the words that they translate the origin of these words are significantly different a lot of the time. So when they said in the beginning was the Word, the Greek word that they're translating is logos. And yes, logos does mean word, but again, when you given the context, it just isn't just word. It's thought. Because where do words come from? Yeah, they physically come from your mouth, but where do they originate? In your mind, in your consciousness. So in the beginning was the Word, the Logos, and the Word was with God. So that divine thought, divine reason, divine consciousness was with God and was God. It was a significant aspect of God. But mind you, again, you gotta think outside of our 3 dimensions. It was with God and was God, because they appear to be, something could appear to be 2 entities, but could be 1 entity, or infinite entities and still be one, as we are. We're all one thing, because we're all part of this consciousness. So let's go back. The same with the beginning. It was in the beginning with God. So he's with God from the start. Now, this is referring to Christ. But again, context. The same Christ that said he dwells in us and we dwell in him. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So this is telling you that God's word, when God speaks something, when God has a thought, because again, speech and thought, they're just two. The spoken word is just a manifestation of what originates in your consciousness. Now, I know a lot of people in the spiritual community talk of manifesting. This is telling you exactly the nature of existence and where it comes from. Everything. Think of this thing. It's right in front of your face. I look like a hotep. It's right here, brother. So nothing exists. Nothing that you can perceive in this world, in this realm, outside or even outside of this realm, exists outside of perception. And what exists what exists outside your own perception? Nothing. Anything that is in creation now originated from a word, a consciousness, a thought. Now you have, and mind you, this shit relates to, you have in Egyptian mythology, there's a god named Tahuti, which is then transliterated into Thoth, or thought, or Thoth. Thought. He's the god of wisdom, of science and math and like philosophy, wisdom and knowledge. Thought. The god, bro, these things are all, and don't get me wrong. Of course these things exist, but we have to we're thinking in 3 dimensions. We have to think not even 4th dimension, 5th. We have to think in infinite dimensions to understand the nature of reality. When you think something, you ever had an instance where like the worst case scenario that you thought in your mind is exactly what occurred? Because you thought of it so much. Your mind manifested that. That's the nature of reality. And when you have one mind is enough to manifest something. Imagine 2, 3 dozen, hundreds, thousands, millions. Like this reality that we live in, we all share, and there's like a giant, this what the psychologist Carl Jung would call the collective consciousness, the collective unconsciousness. It's the reason that in almost every culture they have a flood myth like Noah's Ark. It's just the same thing in Mesopotamian mythology. There's some kind of flood that floods the entire world and man must start anew. It's the same reason that in so many cultures they have dragons All these cultures that never met up, they all have the same ideas and archetypes manifest because this world we are living in is only a manifestation of a divine consciousness that's not only always existed or will always exist, simply exists in eternity. And once you could kind of step outside your mind and kind of just think in without corners and borders and the confine, like really let your mind go crazy with imagination and intuition, then you could kind of start to conceive of what eternity is. When Christ said, I am Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, he's saying that man named Jesus who walked the earth knew that he was not separate from God, and that no one need be separate from God, because nothing is separate from God. If God, in his consciousness, conceived of all this, we're all a thought. We're all reality. But we're not separate from the creation and the creator are just different expressions. When God said, let us make man in our image, you think he was talking about my face? You think that's what he was, when he said, let us make man in our image, you think the Elohim, you think he was talking about physical looks? Because first of all, when he said let's make man in our image, he's talking about, or they're talking about, let's not get into the pronouns, like, because that's a whole nother different, I'll make a whole different video about this. A man and woman are both expressions of God, what people call the divine feminine and divine masculine. And look, man, God is everything. God is in everything. Like, you might look at a person and think, this person's a product of the devil. The devil can't do nothing that God doesn't allow him to do. So all I'm saying is we're created in God's image, not physically. Mentally, we're creating God's image. When he says, let there be light, there's light. All right? See that? Let there be light, and there's light. So when you think something, when you direct energy towards something, it becomes manifest, it becomes reality. That's the nature of reality, thought. So I know I sound crazy right now. No, I don't sound no motherfucking crazy. I'm talking that shit. But I know it's a lot, because then especially with my rambling style. But I hope y'all understand, man. I hope y'all understand what I'm trying to get at. Your thought is God in you. Your consciousness is... Look, man, we always talk about that dichotomy between spirituality and science. They complement each other. In my mind, when I read Genesis 1 and see that God created human, and Genesis 2 when God created Adam and Eve, what I get from that is what science, the theory of evolution. What if when God's created Adam and Eve, his creation of them was a spiritual creation, not physical. His creation of them was, when he really said, let us make man in our image, his image was consciousness. And his image is creation through thought, imagination, intuition, the divine mind. That's God's image. And I hope y'all understand and overstand and understand and all that shit that the that all the spiritual niggas say. I don't know all the jargon, man. But yeah, I just had to make this video. I had to. This was really like the ideas were just a flame in my mind. That light that John talks about in the gospel. The light just illuminated inside me, and I had to share it with y'all. So it's a little different than what I've been talking about lately, but hey, shit, it's all the same anyway. Like I said, it's all God, it's all consciousness, right? So, you know, tell me what y'all think, man. Like, comment, subscribe. As always, it's your boy, Urel. Peace.